Hey, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater, and I am back today with yet another super cool audio interface from MOTU. Today we've got the 10pre, which joins the previous 848 and 16A AVB audio interfaces. Those connect by Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4, and this works the same way. In fact, for a lot of the details about how the 10pre works, the way the software works and so on, I'd recommend taking a look at the 848 and the 16A videos I did, because those take a really deep dive into the software. But we're also going to take a close look at the 10pre today, so don't worry, we're going to cover everything you need to know. Now, as I mentioned, the 10pre connects by Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4. It actually comes with a Thunderbolt 4 cable, which is very cool. And the device will sort of auto-negotiate, figure out the fastest connection speed that it can manage with your computer and set itself up accordingly, which is very cool. As you can probably guess from the name, we have 10 preamps, 10 inputs available here on the 10pre. 8 of those are on the back panel, 2 on the front panel, which serve as very nice guest connections. So you can leave everything hooked up on the back and still access 2 of those right here on the front. Now, those can be mic, line, or instrument level. Now, those are very high quality preamps. With microphones, we have up to 118 dB of dynamic range and 74 dB of gain. The specs are just incredible with these preamps. On inputs 1 and 2, we have the added benefit of a hardware insert point on the back panel for each of those 2 channels, so you could insert an analog compressor or something into the signal path if you wanted to. We have 8 TRS balanced outputs on the back panel, and those can also serve as control voltage outputs. Those are DC coupled. The 10pre, like the other interfaces in this line, use ESS Sabre DACs as well. Again, very high quality, very high specs on the outputs, including the headphone outputs. Rounding things out on the back panel, we have word clock in, out, and through available on 2 different ports. We've got dual banks of optical connections, and we have 2 Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4 connections as well. Finally, we have 2 network ports. It makes a great device to put onto an AVB network. On the front panel, we have inputs 9 and 10, as I mentioned before. Those are mic, line, instrument, like all of the inputs. We've got dual headphone outputs. Those are completely independent. You can have totally separate mixes on those, and there's a volume control for each one as well. We select the input we're working on with the switches, or by turning the dial. We've got a gain control here, 48 volt phantom power, we've got a pad, and so on. We've got full control room capabilities here as well. We can control 3 sets of monitors, switch among those. We've got mono, we've got mute, and we also have talkback control right here on the front panel. The display tells us a lot. It's a very high quality, high resolution display. You can set up different metering modes here, so we can look at just the analog connections, we can look at just the digital connections, or we can look at all the connections. Of course, it shows us our settings as well, our output settings, some of the different readouts for sample rate and so on are displayed over here. And we navigate among those using the menus, the menu control, and so on. A cool feature is that the 10pre can serve as an optical expander for other devices that have ADAT optical compatible inputs and outputs. In fact, there's a preset in here. You just hit the switch and it'll move itself over, set itself up to be ready to go as a microphone preamp expander for your other device. Now, the heart of taking charge of the 10pre is with the CueMix Pro software, which comes included with it. If we jump over to my computer, we can take a look at that. Once you connect your 10pre, it'll show up here in the discovery page, and then we can look at home, where we have control over our monitor settings, phones. You can group monitor outputs, so if you're using a multi-channel output or an immersive output, you can set that up here. You can even have presets for those that you can apply, save, and so on. We also have a page of device settings. This is where we set the sample rate, where the clock is coming from. If you're dealing with AVB, how the input streams are being routed. On the input page, we can see our microphone inputs, and we have 10 of those here. Each has its own settings for 48 volt phantom power, pad, and polarity invert. And we can also see our optical inputs. Now, the 2 banks of optical inputs can be independently switched so that they're either stereo TOS or they're 8-channel ADAT. And that can be done independently on both input and output. We have a very similar looking output page, but again, we have our monitor grouping set up here. And then we have the patch bay. Now, this is very important, and again, I'd send you over to our 16A and 848 videos to look more in depth at this patch bay, but basically anything can be routed anywhere, from the device itself, meaning the 10pre, the mixer that's inside the CueMix Pro software, over an AVB network, or your host computer, your DAW as well. Very easy to patch things, just move the cable where you want them to go. You can also connect stereo connections, you can move all of them at once. It's actually a lot of fun to play with. And if you choose, you can look at this as a routing grid instead, where you can see where things are routed this way. So we have our input sources, we have our destinations, and you just basically click the box where you want things to connect. Once you have your routing set up and your patch bay configured, then you can move over to the mixer. Now, this is a very comprehensive mixer. It has built-in EQ. We've got all kinds of busing capability. We've got all kinds of aux busing capability, and so on. So you can look at independent groups of those. You can look at different views, turn things on and off, different sections in the mixer. So for example, our settings screen here, our EQs here, our dynamics control here, sends, pan, mute. So you can show and hide any of the sections of the mixer you want so that it fits in your screen the way you want it to. Now, in addition to the main stereo or multi-channel output that you're working on, you also can look at an aux bus mixer. You can also look at the faders. You can choose what's showing on the faders. So this is our aux 1 and 2 mix now on the faders. This is aux 3 and 4, or we can go back to our main 1 and 2 here as well. And finally, we have control over our talkback from here too. And we have a separate tab that allows us to go even deeper with the aux mixing if we so prefer. So again, take a look at the 16A or the 848 videos for an in-depth look at this CueMix Pro mixer, because it really does a lot. And that patch bay routing, super easy to use, but so powerful. All this adds up to an incredibly powerful audio interface with so many options and so much flexibility. It's perfectly poised to be the heart of many systems. And using AVB or expander modes, you could add this to an 848, a 16A, or another audio interface and build your system even bigger. Now, we've really just scratched the surface here on the 10pre. I recommend that you head over to Sweetwater.com for more information, and then contact your Sweetwater sales engineer to find out if this is the perfect audio interface for your studio. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.